Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another GTA Online video. My name is SaintsFan, and today we have a new event week, which means we have a new vehicle, which apparently also means Rockstar still hates the GTA community. For whatever reason, they do not want to release the Sultan Classic. Yet another week will go by without that vehicle. Today, they did release another sports car though, the iMorgon. And in this video, I'll show you guys about 10 or so things you probably should know before buying the vehicle. So starting off with its price, it is a whopping $2.1 million. It is really expensive. And Rockstar keeps getting more expensive and, more and more expensive with these vehicles, but they're not that good. I don't understand it. I don't know who's going to sort of buy this thing. It's not a bad vehicle, as you'll see, but it's definitely not worth that $2.1 million price tag. It is a sports class vehicle, so that's what we're going to be comparing it against. But as always, starting with the customization, I will say this thing's got some solid customization. I would say it's pretty damn good. Wouldn't say it's great, just because great is like Benny's level, but this is maybe one or maybe like two notches below that. It's got a bunch of customization options, although while it may have like 20 plus options in certain categories, a lot of them are kind of the same option, just with different color schemes, which is good because it allows you to, make a more unique vehicle, but it's also kind of bad because it's kind of lazy, I guess, in a way. I will say, and as you see us go through these options, there's a ton of carbon fiber options. So if you like a carbon fiber looking car, I think you might enjoy the customization on this. As for the liveries, I will say they're okay. They're not anything too great, honestly. I've seen better liveries, and these were not the greatest. Honestly, my favorite's the 90s one, but that's kind of just for nostalgic reasons. It's not even really that great of a livery. So livery's not that good. Primary and secondary, you have that on this car. A bunch of different options, a bunch of different places to put that. You also have a trim color, which changes like the entirety of the interior, which is cool. And one thing, you may see it with the suspension, you don't actually camber the vehicle too much, but when you do lower the suspension, the wheels sort of go out a tiny bit. So I thought that was kind of cool. It seems like Rockstar maybe are doing that with these new vehicles and the suspension. Now, as for some other things that you won't really find inside of the LSC, you can actually remove the stock spoiler. There is no spoiler option by default, but by using the little glitch, which I've shown in the past, you can remove that spoiler if you want to. Also, it does have a pretty awesome interior. You may have seen it teased a little bit in the LSC, but just looking at this interior, I'm pretty sure this is the stock interior because I don't think there's any interior options when I went through it. It's one of those like race style interiors. So if you like that, I think you'll like this interior. It also has paintable stock rims, which is fantastic. I believe these rims are actually on a vehicle. They're stock rims on another vehicle that Rockstar released a couple years ago, but you can paint them with the iFruit glitch or just with some of the glitches that are in the game. And then the final thing regarding customization and looks is that I want to point out the engine does look pretty damn good. Like, as far as the model of this vehicle goes, like the construction of it and the look of it, it's a pretty high quality model and make. Rockstar, like whoever did it, they did a pretty good job. The downside is that the car just by itself does not look that good. It's a pretty odd looking car. Now, some people may like that, but I think a lot of people really don't. Now, as for the performance, hopping into that, I'm comparing against two other vehicles in this little test. We have the iMorgon at the bottom, we have the Sultan Classic at the top left, and the Italy GTO at the top right. This thing, the iMorgon, is insane as far as acceleration goes, and you can see that it beats these other two cars like by a landslide on the first bit of acceleration. However, the top speed is terrible, and you'll see the Sultan Classic, which, yes, it's not out yet, but it's actually the Sultan Classic is one of the better sports cars, or it will be when it does release. But you'll see it does catch up, the Sultan Classic, to the iMorgon, and the Italy GTO just smokes it because it's got insane top speed. So the Italy GTO is like one of the top tier sports cars, and this iMorgon kind of falls pretty far behind it. But that's what you need to know. That's like the most important thing you need to know going into purchasing this vehicle. It has epic acceleration, and you'll see some more examples here in a second, but that means the top speed is just terrible. Taking it around, just driving around the city here, I would say if you're driving in and you know you're going to be using it to like go around a bunch of corners and like you're not going to be going in a straight line for a long period, then this might be a pretty awesome car to use because you can actually take advantage of that acceleration, which I just want to say it goes from like 0 to 100 in like a second. It feels like it, to me, feels like one of, if not the highest acceleration on any car we've ever received. Like even some of the other electric vehicles in the game, you could tell their acceleration is good, but this one almost seems like it's on another level. Now, speaking of that, this actually is kind of a unique car in the fact that it is an electric car, but apparently it switches to a different type of engine when you're at a higher speed. It's based off of a real life car called the Gumpert RG, I believe. And what ends up happening is at lower speeds, you're full electric. And then once you're at the higher speeds, you switch, or the engine switches to a hydrogen/methanol engine. And you can notice that when you are driving just by listening to the vehicle. It's very, very quiet when you're at a low speed. But once you get to some of the higher speeds, you do sort of hear the engine kick in. So it might be somewhat of a good compromise if you sort of like the acceleration of the electric cars, but you still want to hear the engine. Although the engine doesn't really sound that good. So it is kind of unfortunate in that regard. Now, I don't really know how to tell this, but apparently some people were saying this car does only have 2 gears, which is how it is in real life. So I thought maybe, if that is true, that's kind of cool. It is unique. Some other little minor things, the headlights on it, there are obviously your standard headlights and then your high beams, but they're actually separated. So you can destroy one and not the other, which I don't think is like, that doesn't happen on many other vehicles in the game. Someone pointed this out and I was just testing it, and it does seem like it does work. If you hold the handbrake and the gas, like when you're at a standstill and you release them at the same time, obviously, and like go forward, it's sort of almost, it seems like it builds up the car, it builds up some sort of a boost, and you might even get even more acceleration. It's almost like a sort of launch control or something. That did seem to happen when I was driving it around in the city. But I would say overall, this car it's not a bad vehicle, but it's not good. It's not even really great. And for the $2.1 million price tag, it's definitely not worth it. Obviously, in the comment section, you guys can let me know what you guys think of this. It is very interesting, though, how Rockstar still have not, or they don't want to release that Sultan Classic. I mean, taking a look at the rest of the vehicles, we've already had the Furia, obviously the iMorgon. So the next Legendary Motorsport website vehicle is the Albany VSTR, another, I believe, sports car. It's more of a luxury car. And then we get into those F1 cars, where obviously the next car on the San Andreas website is the Sultan Classic. So, maybe what might end up happening is we get potentially the Sultan Classic next week, and then they might go through some of these Southern San Andreas Super Autos vehicles. You might get I think it's the Outlier, then you have the Drift, the whatever that truck is, the Sugo, and then you might go back to Legendary Motorsports. So the F1 cars, they might not be released, for another month or so. But anyway, that is it with this video. That is also the iMorgon. It's a weird vehicle. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. Please drop the video like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more GTA content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.